You can see that these are panicking because what they thought was going to happen with the Epstein files is not happening. And you can see that basically Trump trapped them in all this. They're caught in a trap and they don't know what to do. And again, Trump has now played them. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And this is what Trump does. He leads them in and says, no, 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 we don't want that. No, no, no. All right, you really want it? Okay, you're requesting it. Okay, here you go. Now, here's all the information. And now, let's see what turns up here. And actually, this is not going to work the way they think it's going to work out. And actually, this is a complete and utter disaster for the deep state players once again. And you can see that Trump now, what he is doing right now, he is now separating the players for the midterms. And I don't believe it's just for the midterms. I do believe Trump now is actually preparing everything, yes, for the midterms, but also for the presidential elections. He's thinking way, way ahead. Remember, his entire mission is to do what? It's to take back this country. His entire mission is to make sure we don't have these obstructionists, the rhinos, in position where they're going to stop or try to stop everything that he's trying to do. And he needs to make sure those people that are going to try to come, get in the way of the 28 presidential election, he needs to make sure that he actually outs them right now and people could see who they are and who they truly are. So I do believe that's exactly what he's doing right now. And he's prepping the entire thing. Just like he's prepping everything, so this way we can have accountability moving forward. And like we've always said from the very, very beginning, we need to look at these judges very, very carefully and closely. And all those people that are screaming and yelling and whining that we need prosecutions, just take a step back for one moment. Take a look at what is going on right now. If you have a judiciary that is corrupt, that is blackmailed, do you really think when Trump and team, they bring them in front of this judge who is corrupt, do you really think they're going to follow the rule of law and actually abide by the law and actually then convict these people? Think about that for a sec. And think about the instructions they will give to the juries. And I do believe what Trump has done right now, he's taken Comey, he's taken Bolton, he's taken Letitia James, and yes, there's going to be many other people. And he's used open and shut cases, simple cases. These aren't the treasonous cases. These are very simple cases. Documents that they might have signed. They might have lied to Congress. And he wants to see, let's see what happens when we take these people and we put them in front of these judges. Let's see the lawfare tactics. Let's see what the judges do. And let's see if the judges are following the rule of law or are they going to use the lawfare tactics to get these people off. And I think we're starting to get the answer, and it's becoming clearer and clearer every single day that no, we cannot have accountability. Because when you look at the Comey case, what do you see? You see already that the judge now most likely will let him go. That the case is not going to go forward. And then when you look back in time and you look at all the judges that were going after Trump, they wouldn't even allow Trump to submit certain evidence. And most of the cases didn't even make sense, especially the one with the valuation of his real estate, where the bank said, we have no problem whatsoever. We actually gave him an award because he paid off his loans ahead of time. And Trump actually didn't value his properties. The lenders do that. And who was the victim in those cases? There was nobody. So once again, we could see that Trump's plan, where he's checking it out first, is actually working, and they're doing exactly what he thought they were going to do. So what does that mean? How can we have accountability right now? Oh, let's arrest everyone. Let's put them in front of these corrupt judges. Oh wait, everyone got off. Everyone's angry, pissed off, because no one's thinking right now. We need the House. We need the Senate. The midterms to complete the mission to take back this country are so important. Not just to have accountability, but to actually do other things that Trump needs to be done. If we do not get rid of the central bank system, the loan sharking system where we the people, borrow this currency with interest attached, which breeds corruption. If we do not get rid of this, we're just going to have the same thing all over again, and it will never, ever end. Yes, it might be cleaned up for a very short period of time, but it's not going to last. And I go back to the example when Trump was in his first term, he wrote incredible executive orders. People were feeling good, fuel prices were coming down, the economy was chugging along, he was doing a lot of different things, peace through strength, got rid of a couple of terrorists from Iran, and all of a sudden, Biden came into the picture, and what happened? Those low energy prices, they went skyrocketing. They went way up. Inflation that he had below 2% went where? Went straight up. All the executive orders that Trump put into place, well, they reversed it. The lockdown border and the building of the border wall, that was reversed. So, do we really want that once again? No, we don't. Because what would be the purpose of all this? Remember, we're fighting to take back the country. Trump's mission is to return the power to the people. That's why he says, we have no time right now for these ridiculous hoaxes by the deep state, by the Ds. Our mission is to take back the country. Yes, we could spend all our time on all these ridiculous things right now. And if we don't take back the country, who cares? What did we accomplish? We accomplished absolutely nothing. Remember, he's in office for 3 years and a couple of months right now. Yes, he's going to hand this off, but he needs to go as quickly as possible. We need to get everyone on board. We need to take control of the House and the Senate. We need all of this now to take back the country. Remember, this is part of the plan. And we could see that Trump, he says, okay, let's get this over with. You want the Epstein files? Release them all. Release everything. This way, we get it over with. Let's get back to business. Let's get back to taking back the power of this country. Let's give it right back to the people. Yes, the Epstein information that the Ds were trying to push. Yeah, it's important up to a point because we're not there yet. And remember, this is not about these little tiny issues here and there. This is about taking the power back. And it's much deeper. It's much wider and much more that Trump has to do. It's not just about arresting a couple of people. Yeah, guess what? You arrest Obama right now. You arrest Clinton right now. You arrest Comey right now. Yeah, they're arrested. Great. Keep the central bank in the state that it's in right now, where we're still borrowing currency. What do you think is going to happen later on? You're going to breed corruption again. Yeah, it might take 5, 8, and 10 years, maybe even sooner than that, but you're going to be back exactly where you were before. And think about it. If we don't take control of the House and Senate, and we don't codify the executive orders, we don't place voter ID as a law, with paper ballots and one-day voting, we don't get rid of mail-in ballots. If we don't get rid of all the illegals, guess what's going to happen? With all the money that they're going to be money laundering, they're going to set up their entire cheating system once again. Yeah, Obama might not be doing it. Hillary Clinton might not be doing it. But believe me, you're going to have takers, because it's very easy to corrupt those people that are already criminals. And once again, we will be back to where we are today. And you can see, this is what Trump is continually trying to tell everyone. He doesn't have time for all this because he understands the clock is ticking and we must move forward. We must take back control of this country. Remember, this is not business as usual. The country that we've been living in, the way it's been operating, it's about to change big time. It's not going to be, oh, here we are once again with the same uniparty. We're about to change everything. And a lot of people don't understand this, that we're going to do a 180 right now. Because what we've been living in is everything the deep state, the central bankers have set up. That's what we've been living in. Trump is going to end all of that. And the world that you've been living in is about to change. Change for the better. And it's going to be absolutely incredible. And this is why Trump is continually out there saying, listen, we have a lot of work to do. He knows what he needs to do. And with the D's and everyone else and the rhinos trying to bog him down with all this, it's not going to happen. So once again, you could see where we are right now. And Trump is now testing the judiciary, testing everything, because he knows where we have to go with all of this. We'll be discussing a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about the illegals, because again, we need to get rid of the illegals. And yes, in 2026, what's going to happen? That one big, beautiful bill. The funding is going to come in, and all those people that want to assist in going after these people, we're going to have hundreds of thousands of people rounding these people up and removing them, which is going to make it much, much more difficult for the deep state players that he's to cheat in the midterms. And like we said many, many times before, every step of the way, what Trump is trying to do, he's trying to minimize or mitigate the cheating that they have. Yes, it would be the ultimate to end the filibuster and to basically pass a law that says voter ID, one day, voting, paper ballots only. That is it. That would be incredible. It would shut down everything that they're doing right now. If we don't get that, Trump says, okay, at least we're going to get the Supreme Court ruling one-day voting, which will assist us greatly in reducing the cheating that the deep state have been doing for a very long time. If the Supreme Court doesn't rule on this, or something happens, Trump says, okay, I'm cleaning up the voter rolls. I got rid of the Social Security numbers. I'm deporting the illegals. I'm going to make it so we can override their cheating system so they can't cheat the way they did before. So every step of the way, Trump is trying to do this. And yes, depending on what happens, it will be safe up to a point. And this is why we need all hands on deck. This is why we need to take it all back now. We need control of the House and Senate. We can't have these obstructionists standing in the way. We need them removed right now, or guess what? Nothing's going to get done just like you're seeing today and what you've seen in the past. But again, Trump now is removing the illegals. And every day that passes, you could see Congress, the fake news, they continually put out all of these fake stories. Jesus, freaking Congress says, this is disgusting. ICE Border Patrol are now illegally targeting and arresting children in the Charlotte area. Well, once again, this is fake. Commander Gregory K. Povino put this out and said, "What's disturbing is you lie with no facts. This illegal alien juvenile was 18 years old. He was not zip-tied in the store, but let out where he tried escaping and was then zip-tied. Lying like this needlessly incites the community, thus increasing possibility of violence. Homeland Security, then, is now pointing to a CNN article, and it says, he came to the U.S. as a child refugee from the former Soviet Union. Now he's a father facing deportation to Ukraine. Homeland Security says it's alarming that CNN can always be counted on to run cover for violent felons." Imagine if they showed the same care for American citizens. On August 1st, ICE arrested aggravated felon and illegal alien from Russia, Roman Sarakva. Serva has a final order of removal by an immigration judge from November 4th, 2014. His criminal history includes assault with a deadly weapon, multiple counts of burglary, multiple counts of carjacking, carjacking with a firearm, trespassing onto private property, multiple counts of taking a vehicle without owner consent, possession of a hypodermic needle syringe, receiving stolen property, multiple counts of conspiracy to commit a crime. He was a legal adult when he committed many of these felonies. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, if you break the law, you will face the consequences. Criminal illegal aliens are not welcome in the U.S. And there you have it right now. And like we said before, we can't have judges like Judge Boasberg trying the cases like Comey's case or Obama's case or Hillary's case or anyone or any other case. Because again, what do you think they're going to do? They're not going to rule the way you think they're going to rule. Amuse put this out and said, Obama Judge Boasberg blocked Trump admin CDL restrictions meant to prevent tragedies like the Florida crash, where an illegal migrant trucker killed 3 people. His ruling keeps 190,000 non-citizen CDL holders on U.S. roads. Another Obama judge undermines safety. Sean Davis says, "Why has the House not yet impeached this corrupt clown for violating the law of spy on Republican senators?" Think about that for a second. So if the House impeaches him, doesn't have to go to the Senate. Why haven't they done this? Because they know it's going to go absolutely nowhere. Because we don't have control yet. And these judges are the problem. Because you have to remember the deep state players, they spent years upon years of putting these people into these positions because they wanted a corrupt system. They wanted a system that they could control. So this way, anyone that stepped into the presidential position, they wouldn't be able to do anything. Why do you think all these judges are attacking Trump? Because they're controlled. They've been instructed. Delay, delay, delay. Until the midterms, we need to make sure that he doesn't remove the illegals. We need to make sure that he doesn't fire every single person in the government. We need to make sure that he doesn't close all the different agencies. They're trying their best to delay Trump, but they're losing every step of the way. But again, they know they can't stop him because Trump controls the executive branch. All they can do is use their corrupt judges to try to delay it, but it's not working. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, since the Epstein information was pushed so hard by the D's, it looks like ICE is announcing a brand new operation to conduct welfare checks on the 450,000 children that Biden administration placed with unvetted sponsors, some of whom were sex traffickers, gang members, and abusers. I don't think the deep state players are going to like this, because once again, when we start to find out that, wait a minute, yeah, they are with sex traffickers. Yes, they are in slave labor. They're using these children for the pedophiles. The people are going to start to learn this, and the people are going to become pretty darn angry. Because, again, once the people understand that they've been harming children, and they've been covering this up, it is game over. I think a lot of people know this, but as the news comes out, it is going to be terrible for the deep state players. Just like with all these Epstein files that are coming out right now, it is terrible for them. Rapid Response 47 put this out and said, notice how Democrats aren't talking about the indisputable fact that their own Stacey Plask was colluding in real time with Epstein during a committee hearing. It's on camera. What else did she know? Very interesting. Bill Kristol put this out and said, Trump doesn't have to call on House Republicans to vote to release the file. Trump can order Bondi and Patel to release the files tomorrow. The question is, has he already ordered Bondi and Patel to destroy some of the files after they went through them months ago? Carl Higbee says, no turd. 3 Democrat-appointed judges blocked him. It requires Congress, and they will this week. And yes, Trump has already said, let's bring all this out into the open. You want to play the game? We will play the game, but we're going to play it my way. Ryan Angle News put this out and said, a newly revealed email shows Democrat funding group Dynamic SRG contacting Jeffrey Epstein in 2013 to promote then freshman Congressman Hakeem Jeff, calling him Brooklyn's Barack, while urging Epstein to support a major Democratic fundraising push. ALX responds to this and says, how many Epstein emails have shown efforts to support Trump's candidacy? I haven't seen any, and he's absolutely right. And we could see that the deep state players, they have lied every step of the way. And now the truth is coming out. Epstein was part of their criminal syndicate. And a lot of these people, well, as Trump investigates them, it's going to show that they went to the island, they were having sex with children, they were using Epstein as blackmail. You could see how this is all playing out right now. The Oversight Committee put this out and said, Robert Garcia and Oversight Dems must publicly condemn their Democrat colleagues' collusion with Epstein. Did any other Democrat collude with Epstein to basically attack President Trump? Are they condemning anyone? No, they have not. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following. As I said Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide and it's time to move on from the Democrat hoax perpetrated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein, are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care, he says all caps. All I do care about is that Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we are winning big, our victory on reducing inflation from the biggest level in history to practically nothing. Bringing down prices for the American people, delivering historic tax cuts, gaining trillions of dollars of investment into America, a record. The rebuilding of our military, securing our border, deporting criminal illegal aliens, ending men and women's sports, stopping transgender for everyone, and so much more. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive, and if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Make America great again. Now, why do you think they wanted the Epstein stuff out there? They were going to trickle it out. They were going to manipulate the evidence. The fake news was going to put out headlines, and they were going to try to keep Trump busy over a long period of time. But again, it's not working out the way they thought it was going to work out. And you have to remember, the fake news doesn't control the narrative anymore. Because once again, we get information on social media which they do not have control over. The Oversight Committee put this out and said Democrats got caught red-handed spreading a hoax about Trump and Epstein. They misled the public, lied about witness testimony, doctored documents, and are now scrambling to cover it up. We have the receipts. They don't want you to read. Number one, let's start with former AG Bill Barr. Democrats claim Barr could not clear Trump on wrongdoing after his deposition. What did Barr actually say? That there was no evidence, and that if SDNY had anything on Trump, they would have indicted him. They didn't. Number two, then came Alexander Aosta. Dimick has tried to smear Trump by linking him to Epstein via the 2007 case, but Acosta crushed their narrative. He testified that he never spoke, emailed, or had any contact with Trump about Epstein. None, ever. Number three, so what did Democrats do? They leaked 3 cherry-picked emails out of 23,000 pages, then made their own redactions to hide exonerating facts. One name they blacked out, Virginia Guthrie. Why? Because she publicly said she never saw Trump do anything wrong. Number 4, another Democrat redaction for their hoax, Prince Andrew. Why? Because the redacted contacts changes the email. They were fabricating a smear campaign, not telling the truth. Number 5, then they lied about who did the redactions. Representative Crockett and others went on CNN pretending they had no idea who made the edits. CNN corrected them live, saying Democrats made the redactions. So once again, they're screwed. Number 6, we released everything. 23,000 pages. Suddenly, the same Democrats who spent months screaming, "Release the files," told the New York Times that doing so was meant to disorient and distract. So much for transparency. Then the fake and dishonest New York Times quietly edited their piece, removing the word disorient with no editor's note. They are literally helping Democrats rewrite history after their hoax fell apart. Disinformation in real time. Number 8. But here's what no one is talking about. In 2019, Democrat Stacey Plask was testing texting with Jeffrey Epstein during an actual House hearing. Epstein helped Plaskett question a discredited witness who hated Trump, none other than Michael Cohen. What? Number 9. While Plaskett worked with Epstein to attack Trump, Democrats now want you to believe they care about the victims. They don't. All I do care about is that Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we are winning big, our victory on reducing inflation from the biggest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down prices for the American people, delivering historic tax cuts, gaining trillions of dollars of investment into America, a record. They ignored Clinton's connections, buried exculpatory facts, and made targeted redactions to select documents to smear Trump. Shameful. Basically, they lied about everything. Enough with the lies. We've got. The Oversight Committee says, we released all the documents, 65,000 pages to date. No cherry picking, no cover-ups. Democrats, they only released 9. Americans deserve the full truth, not whatever version helps Democrats spin other hoaxes. Absolutely. And this is why Trump from the very beginning said it is a hoax. Clandescent says, so the Dems spent years trying to spin that Trump was implicated in the Epstein files, but the new emails revealed that Epstein despised Fear Trump and was directly assisting the Dems to take Trump down. In other words, Epstein was a deep state affiliate. This has always been the case, and anyone who paid even the slightest bit of attention to the Epstein story over the last 20 years knew this to be the case. But the Dems tried to smear Trump with it anyway, hoping they could weaponize the public's ignorance. The hoax Trump is referring to is the Dems trying to accuse Trump of being involved in abuse against children. The reality is Epstein was a billionaire Democrat megadonor who feared Trump more than anyone because Trump knew Epstein was a creep all the way back in the early 2000s when Epstein-Ghislaine poached Virginia Guy from Mar-a-Lago when she was 17. Trump was not Epstein's buddy. Trump was Epstein's greatest threat. He was his nightmare, and Epstein knew it. Hence why he and the Dems have been trying to destroy Trump from the moment he came down the escalator. And that's absolutely true. And they are the ones who are caught in the trap. Every single time it happens the same way. And all those people that went along with this hoax, certain rhinos, they are also caught in the trap. And now he is exposing all of them. And you can see every step of the way, what is FBI Director Kash Patel doing? He is saving the children. Because I do believe eventually what's going to happen with the investigation that Trump has now started against the D's and the grand jury information, I do believe when the true information comes out, Trump and team, they do not want the children to be harmed. Because you know what happens when all of a sudden the fingers being pointed at certain politicians, certain world leaders, certain corporate CEOs, they try to cover everything up. And what do? They try to get rid of the evidence. This is why FBI Director Kash Patel put this out and said 122 children located or recovered across 10 states. Children from 23 months to 17 years old. Great work, FBI Jacksonville and partners. This is unbelievable right there. And this is why they're cleaning it all up first before the actual information comes out and the investigation comes out. Again, the deep state, the D's, they're so concerned right now about all of this. They weren't concerned about this going back 4 years ago. Actually, a reporter asked Schumer. Schumer is at this point. Everyone is seeing it. You had 4 years. You had total control. Why didn't you release it all? Because again, there was no reason to. Trump wasn't in power. And actually, if they actually had something on him, they would have taken him out a long time ago. Their plan has failed, just like everything else. And you could see every step of the way, the deep state, not just in this country, but around the world, they are panicking. You can see the EU's their new censorship machine, the Democracy Shield. I mean, really think about it, the Democracy Shield. You mean, hey, this is the shield to protect our criminal organization. Will police speech and suppress dissent under the pretext of defending democracy? What do you think is going to happen when the information still gets out there and they can't protect their democracy, which is their criminal organization? I do believe in the end they're going to become so desperate that they're going to shut down communications across the world. I do believe that is going to be their ultimate goal. Write that right there. And then, and to distract everything from what is going on, they're going to try to start World War II. I do believe that is the card that they're going to play in the very end. And this is why Trump, every step of the way, is saying, nope, I'm the peacemaker. Look how many wars I stopped. He's getting people used to the idea that he is the peacemaker, because when the time comes, they will call on him. And you could see the deep state plan very, very clearly with all the illegals coming into this country and other countries around the world. Yes, they had the agenda of cheating in the elections, causing chaos. But once again, what they wanted to do is they wanted to reduce the population in all the different countries. So this way, they can overtake the country, overtake the history of the country, overtake the patriots of that country. This was their plan from the very, very beginning. And this is why when they released COVID and they released the actual plemic, which was the vaccine, the bioweapon, they wanted to kill off as many people as possible because, again, they were trying to reduce the population. Wall Street Maverick put this out and said, number one, they put out an article that says, climate change is making people think twice about having children. That's coming from the Telegraph. The second article is, Britain must rely on immigration to compensate for falling birth rate. Now think about these two articles. They said the same thing here in this country. So it's worldwide. Wall Street Maverick says, number one, tell white people to stop having children because of global warming and overpopulation. Step two, bring in millions of non-white immigrants into white countries because they're not having children. This has been one of the most evil schemes in history. And Wall Street Maverick is absolutely right. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that Trump, he let everyone know that Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro might be open to having talks. Now, I do believe Trump with the Patriots, what he does, he likes to box these people in because, once again, he says, hey, I think they're ready to have talks. I think we're ready to hash everything out. And it kind of boxes them in. And then you see who they truly are. Because once he says this, what are they going to do if they say, no, we're not having talks? Well, it shows you who you really are. That everyone can see it, and it becomes very, very clear. And I do believe that Trump is actually setting him up to actually then force him into talks. So this is very, very interesting. Now, he does say we may have some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. Now, he does this on purpose. Now, it'd be great if Maduro just went ahead and they spoke together and they ironed out the differences here, and basically they went after the cartels and shut down the criminal syndicate. That would be fantastic. But again, I do believe he's setting him up right now, because Secretary Marco Rubio put this out and says State Department intends to designate Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization headed by the illegitimate Nicolas Maduro. The group has corrupted the institution of government in Venezuela and is responsible for terrorist violence conducted by and with other designated FTOs, as well as for trafficking drugs into the United States and Europe. Now, once again, Trump, he boxed in Maduro, and they might be speaking behind the scenes, maybe in back channels, but you could see what they're doing right now. They're setting this all up. Now, we know that Mexico has a problem. Sheinbaum is controlled by the cartels. We could see that Maduro might also be controlled by the cartels. And this is all part of the criminal syndicate. And maybe Trump is allowing these leaders a way out. And maybe Trump is allowing these leaders to call upon Trump to assist with the cartels. That's very interesting. Now, of course, the fake news continually asks Trump the question, are you going to go into Venezuela? Are you going to bring troops here? And he said, I would love to do that, but again, it's a sovereign country. I do believe that Trump is not going to bring in troops into Venezuela or to Mexico to fight the cartels, because again, this would end up in a war, and he is the peacemaker. The only thing I do believe that Trump most likely will do is if any of these leaders say, yes, we need your assistance in this matter to actually fight the cartels. So that means Trump and team would be working with the governments in those countries to fight the cartels in those countries, which is actually the deep state players, if you really think about it. So when you start to put this in context and you start to really think about, this is Trump trying to create a relationship with these leaders so they can join forces to fight the deep state players. Let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting because it depends on which way Maduro goes. And it looks like Trump has boxed him in right now. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we could see country after country, they're moving in the same direction as Argentina and El Salvador. Geyer Capital put this out and said, Javier Milei trend continues. Chile's presidential election, it looks like what is happening right now. 70% plus went right wing. Cast is a huge favorite versus Jara in the runoff. So this is going to be very, very interesting moving forward, because we're starting to see the people now, they're fighting back. They're pushing back. And they want their elected people to run the country, because they're seeing Argentina. They're seeing El Salvador. They're looking at other countries across the world like the United States saying, we want the same exact thing. And it's starting to spread from country to country to country. And again, the deep state players, they do not want this to happen. And you can see that they're going to try to start war wherever they possibly can. And I do believe that's what they're trying to do with Ukraine and Russia right now. But it's going to be very, very difficult because I do believe Trump, he is speaking to Putin via back channels. And basically, whatever they're going to try to do, I don't think it's going to work out because, again, you really need Putin to go against the Western countries. But I think if Trump and Putin are on the same side, that leaves the deep state players out on their own, and they're not going to be able to kick this off, which means most likely they'll try some type of false flag. Marin put this out and said, Zelensky, Macron, signed a major deal to strengthen Ukraine's military with advanced jets and missile systems. The agreement includes long-term plans for Rafale fighter jets and Aster 30 missiles and more SMPT air defense systems. It's part of a 10-year strategic push to help Ukraine build a 250-jet combat fleet and defend against growing Russian attacks. France also pledged deeper cooperation between Ukrainian and French arms manufacturers. So they're already looking into the future right now. And they're already looking to basically take this war to the next step. Because Zelensky also sealed a deal with the Greek Prime Minister to import U.S. liquefied natural gas through the Balkan pipeline, ticking off from December, and ramping up in January to cover winter needs through March of 2026. So this is very, very interesting as we move forward. And I do believe you're going to see all those countries that are who still have the installed politicians, they're all going to work together to push war as best they possibly can. And I do believe when they see that they can't win the midterms, when they don't have control, they're going to lean into some type of false flag to start World War II. And I do believe that this will most likely happen after the midterms. Because when all else fails, when everything they tried does not work, they will try World War II. And this is part of their 16-year plan. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we've been talking a lot about how the left, how they hate women, how they're trying to infiltrate women in sports, women at work, women everywhere. And Lives at TikTok put this out and says, unreal. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey appointed Giselle Bird, a man pretending to be a woman, to the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women, which advises on policy to improve opportunities for women. I mean, you really can't make this stuff up. So you have a man, and it's actually a black man, dressed in a woman's wig and a woman's dress. So the man is playing dress up. Senator Scott Wiener says, you're so thirsty for engagement, you don't care if your bigotry incites violence against people. Lives of TikTok is a straight-up hate group. For the record, that outfit is amazing, and as is the woman wearing it. Well, it's not a woman, and I think we all know this. Liz of TikTok says, this you pointing to Peter J. Hansen, and this is pointing to a New York Times Magazine story, and it says, and it's highlighted. But when it was implemented in January 2023, the effect was that uniform officers could no longer apprehend groups of girls in lingerie in Figueroa, hoping to recover minors among them. Now officers needed to be willing to swear they had reasons to suspect each girl was underage. But with fake eyelashes and wigs, it was nearly impossible to tell. One girl told Vice officers that her trafficker had explained things. So, Peter Hansen says, New York Times Magazine story out today makes clear that this law Scott Wiener championed made it much easier for human traffickers to pimp out teen girls. And Lib's TikTok says, is this you? And it is him. And remember, this individual is going to take Nancy Pelosi's position. And I do believe the deep state players, they're forcing the old Democrats out, bringing in the far left. So this is going to be very, very interesting. And what we're going to see is as they bring in the far left, it's going to destroy the D Party. They won't even be able to stop it. It's going to be a complete and utter disaster. So all you got to do is look at Biden's time in the White House. The far left was running this. Yes, Obama is far left. They were running all this, and the country turned on Biden. The country said, no more. That's what they did. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we could see all of those far left politicians that were installed who are saying, yeah, we must defund the police. We must have social workers to talk to the criminals. It seems like in all those different places, they end up getting mugged or their car stolen or their purse stolen, you name it, because the policies that they put into place is actually destroying those areas and allowing the criminals to run free. Dapper Detective put this out and said, mugged by reality staffer to defund the police advocate and Illinois Senate President Don Harmon robbed at knife point. Harmon has legislated some of the most extreme soft-on-crime policies for Illinois in criminal justice reform at the behest of BLM. And look what happened. Karma, baby. That's what's happening right there. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is when we look at January 6th, we could see now that every day that passes, everyone's starting to understand and realize that January 6th was an insurrection by the deep state players. It was not an insurrection by the MAGA people. They set it up, they planned the whole thing, they put their operatives in the crowd, and they had a plan. And it took them a year to develop their plan. And the January 6th committee, the unselect committee as Trump would call them, they needed to convince everyone that Trump was behind it. But it was a big, gigantic fail because they're all morons. Eric Darty put this out and said, outrage is erupting after it was confirmed that the January 6th committee spent more than twice the original budget, a whopping $17+ million.
Where did the money go?
TV contractors and filmmakers to dramatize the attacks on Donald Trump. Pay it back with interest. What a scam. And that is absolutely true. It was one gigantic scam. And Trump, he decided to retruth one of his truths. And this is what it says. It was just revealed that the FBI had secretly placed, against all rules, regulations, protocols, and standard, 274 FBI agents into the crowd just prior to and during the January 6th hoax. This is different from what Director Wray stated over and over again. That's right. As it now turns out, FBI agents were at and in the January 6th protest, probably acting as agitators and insurrectionists, but certainly not as law enforcement officials. I want to know who each and every one of these so-called agents are and what they were up to on that now historic day. Many great American patriots were made to pay a very big price only for the love of their country. I owe this investigation of dirty cops and crooked politicians to them. Christopher Wray, the then director of the FBI, has some major explaining to do. That's two in a row, Comey and Wray, who got caught lying with our great country at stake. We can never let this happen again. Then he says, Wray lied. And that's exactly what happened. He lied to Congress about it all. They all lied. And what's very interesting when you start to look at the shooter who took a shot at Trump, and we know that was an operation by the FBI, by the Secret Service, by many others. Because remember, the deep players were trying to remove Trump at the time. And I do believe it was an op. And yes, I do believe probably the FBI at the time, they knew about this. They knew about the individual. They knew about his accounts on social media. They knew what he was going to do. And I do believe they allowed him to do this because, again, this is what they have done in the past. And what we've come to find out is that in Lives of TikTok put this out, is that the Trump shooter was they, them pronouns, furry fetish, hated Trump, love political violence, extremist ideology, called Trump racist, and called Republicans a cult. And the media tries to convince us that he was Republican. Absolutely not. Then Libs of TikTok put this out and said, Trump shooter non-binary, Minnesota school shooter trans, Nashville shooter trans, Colorado Springs shooter non-binary, Aberdeen shooter trans, Denver school shooter trans, Iowa school shooter trans, gender fluid. Charlie Kirk killer did it on behalf of trans boyfriend. It's time to have a serious conversation about the epidemic of trans violence. So when you start to really look at this and you step back and you take a look, you understand now that the deep state players work in the FBI, work in the CIA, and the rest, they knew that there was a group that they could depend on to carry out certain ops, and they used them every single time. I think the proof is in the pudding right now. I think that we could see what has been happening. It's pretty clear. Because again, they use these people. Remember, they're on medications. They're confused. Some of them hear voices. And I do believe they use the innocent people to do these things. And they've been using them in Antifa. They've been using them everywhere. If you really look at it, it's the same MO all over the place. It was an operation led by Mayorkas and probably many others. Miranda D. Vine put out an article in the New York Post saying secret FBI Secret Service butchered the Thomas Cook case and invited conspiracies. Now, think about it. During the investigation, what did the FBI, what did the deep say players do? This is before Cash came in. This is before everyone else. This was the old FBI. They basically cleaned up all the evidence. They sprayed down where the individual was shot. And you could see this is what they have done in the past. And they continue to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the evidence was hidden. A lot of the evidence was destroyed. A lot of the evidence was manipulated to make it very, very difficult to investigate all of this. But this is what Miranda says. The then FBI director, Chris Wray, told Congress after the July 13, 2024 attack that the Bureau had found nothing in Crook's online history that pointed to a motive or political ideology. A week later, Wray's deputy Polabate told Congress that comments posted on one of Crook's social media accounts appear to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes, to espouse political violence, and are described as extreme in nature. Thanks to an enterprising source who uncovered Crook's hidden digital footprint, we can see that Abate misled Congress by omission because he left out an entire section of Crook's online interactions from January to August of 2020, when he did an ideological backflip and went from rapidly pro-Trump to rapidly anti-Trump, and then went dark, never seeming to post again. Among the 17 accounts uncovered by our source were ones on YouTube, Snapchat, Venmo, Zelle, GroupMe, Discord, Google Play, Quizlet, Chess.com, and Quora. Yet, the source found reams of information that shows Crook was not simply some unknowable lone actor. He left a digital trail of violent threats, extremist ideology, and administration for mass violence. He spoke openly of political assassination posted under his real name and was even flagged by the other users who mentioned law enforcement in their replies. Despite this, his account remained active for more than 5 years and was only removed the day after the shooting. The deep state players did all this. And yes, he had a furry fetish. And he was pals with neo-Nazis. So basically, the FBI at the time didn't miss all of this. They knew about it. They allowed it to happen. Andrew Covett put this out and said, "Wow, President Trump's would-be assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks, was entering a furry fetish just like Tyler Robinson." He also used they-them pronouns on social media profiles. This is beyond correlation. This is a 5-alarm fire. Important reporting from Miranda Devine. Absolutely. Now remember, Cash, he did a Crooks case overview and said this guy was acting alone. Now, at the time, the FBI, I do believe, allowed all this to happen. They covered up his footprint. And people are saying, well, why isn't Cash revealing all this? Why isn't he showing that the FBI was involved? Well, there could be certain things, and we mentioned a post yesterday, because I do believe that one's going to lead to another. And basically, in that same post, it said probably 60% of the information must be kept private. Plus, remember, we're going after the deep state players, and we're going to have accountability. And who's doing the investigations right now? The FBI and the DOJ. I don't know if this would taint the FBI and the investigations, because then, just like that post says, what happens if this opens a can of worms? Could we ever bring these people to hold them accountable if the FBI is shown to be a deep state system where they have basically been the criminal organization going back in time? This might hurt the accountability process. So I don't know if Trump made the decision, and maybe, remember, Cash, Pam Bondi, they serve at the pleasure of the president. They serve him. So I don't know if they made the decision not to do this, but I do believe that if Trump says, listen, let's go in this direction, let's do it, I do believe they will. But what's very interesting, since Cash put this out there, Eric Trump says, thanks FBI Director Kash Patel, FBI Deputy Director Bonino. This is good to see. So that's very interesting. But let's see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that Trump was asked a question, I do believe, on the tarmac about Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. And he said, you can't tell him who to interview. If he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it and get the word out, let him. Ultimately, people have to decide themselves. So think about this for a second. Trump is the president. Is he going to censor anyone? Tell him not to say anything? No, it's not up to him to do that. Tucker, Nick Fuentes, and anybody else, they're private citizens. The First Amendment gives them every right. Now, people might hate it, but it gives everyone the right to speak the way they want. And I've said this many, many times before. I will defend anyone's right to speak freely, even if it's hate. Yes, look at the First Amendment. Now, it doesn't mean you have to agree with the hate speech. And I do believe this is why Trump says the people must decide. The government is not going to censor. Trump is not going to censor people. It goes against the Constitution. So think about that for a second. Clandescent put this out. Now he's pointing to Nick Fuentes right now. And Nick Fuentes in the first post says, so now Ben Shapiro, Randy Fine, Lindsey Graham are considered MAGA, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Thomas Massie are not. Your Israel First mega movement is dead. The America First movement is the future. And then he thanked the president for saying that. Clanzen says the woke right morons are all over the place. They spend all day claiming MAGA is dead, Trump is a pedo, and Trump is a Zionist cuck owned by the Jews that betrayed MAGA. Then, when Trump says something they like, they love Trump again. You don't get to have it both ways. Now think about this. Trump just said the people must decide, which is absolutely true. Did he use this before? Yes. Yes, he did. Where did he use this before? Biden, Obama, / the far left. Trump said, listen, I can't tell you. I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you that. Listen, you have to hate Biden. You have to hate these people. You must decide yourself. So he allowed Biden, the far left, the deep state players, show everyone their true agenda. And you know what the people did? They saw the hate. They saw the criminals. They saw everything. The people did decide. You know how they decided? They voted for Trump. Because if they were truly on the side of Biden and Obama and the far left, they would have sided with them. So Trump is saying, listen, you're going to have to make a decision. I can't make that for you. I can't censor people. People in this country are private citizens. They're allowed to speak freely. You must decide. Do you like that or don't you like that? And I do believe he's leaving it up to the people. I don't think it's going to work out the way everyone thinks it's going to work out. Just think of how it worked out for Biden. Think about it. Think about how it's working out for Marjorie Taylor Greene. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the deep state players, they're trying to use the pardons that Trump has signed, and they're trying to use this to say that Trump did the same thing as Biden. AP News put this out and said Justice Department quietly replaced identical Trump signatures. And they're saying that Trump's team did the same thing as Biden. Will Scharf said this is 100% fake news. President Trump signed 8 of the 9 pardons at issue by hand in presence. He signed the 9th in the presence of a member of my team and others. We don't auto-pen pardons in this administration. That's the story. So they lied right there. Now, once again, we can see the fake news loves to lie. They're just making up stories as they go along. And Trump now and team, they are testing the deep state players. They're testing the judiciary. Like we said from the very beginning, I know everyone wants to have accountability. I know everyone wants everyone arrested, but everyone's going to be really darn disappointed when nobody is put into jail. And that is what's going to happen. Remember, we have, and this is why it's been repeated over and over. We have one chance to do this right. Wouldn't you rather do it right and take the time to do it right than to just go out and just arrest everyone to make everyone happy and then everyone complain that everyone's getting off the hook? Because that's what's going to happen with Comey right now. And if we arrested everyone, we would see almost every single case like this. Yeah, you might get a couple of them, but the rest would go free. And then what are you going to do? So let's do it right. So the judge now is ordering the DOJ to turn over grand jury materials in the Comey case. He's stating government misconduct may have tainted the case. Kyle Cheney put this out and said Mistrate orders DOJ to turn over the grand jury materials to Comey, finding real prospect of the government misconduct may have tainted the case. The magistrate said an FBI agent who may have viewed Comey's privilege materials was nevertheless permitted to present evidence to the grand jury, a highly irregular decision and radical departure for DOJ. He was the only witness at the grand jury. Fitzpatrick said Halligan made two apparent fundamental misstatements of law to the grand jury that could threaten the case. So basically, what are they doing right now? The judge is trying to get Comey off any way he possibly can. And the deep state players are using lawfare. I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they're testing all these different judges, testing lawfare, testing it, because again, you need to understand who you're dealing with right now. And I think Trump and the Patriots, they understand that. But Kash Patel and Storm Czar put this out, says there is 100% chance we're going to see people held accountable for the grand conspiracy and also for January 6th. We will not allow anyone who participated in the Russiagate conspiracy and those who improperly and illegally spied on me, members of Congress, and even members of the media for a political end state to be left unturned. These are investigations that are important of consequence to the American public. We're going after every single person. You've already seen indictments of people like James Comey and others, and we're not done. Maria Baramo then asked FBI Director Kash if he believes we're really going to see accountability, and he responded with, yes, 100%. Kash went on to make the point that the deep state spent over 10 years building the conspiracy, and it's only been 8 months of the Trump 2.0 administration. It's a solid point. It took years to take down the mob, and this is much bigger. We want justice so bad, but it has to be done right, and I believe it will be. Nobody on the internet knows what is going on behind the scenes, but all signs are pointing in the right direction. If anyone is going to truly drain the swamp, it's Trump and his administration. Like it or not, this is our only shot, so I chose to stand behind them. And again, we elected him. We gave him a mandate, and they will bring people to justice. Ezra Cohen says, I fully expected Kash and others serving in 47 to get attacked by the radical left. I didn't expect these public servants to face low blows from people claiming to be on our own team. And it goes without saying, the attacks on family members should be off limits. Storm Has Arrived says it's amazing how many of these people have forgotten what President Trump has sacrificed to be where he is right now. He put Cash and Bonnie in there knowing exactly what they're capable of. Don't forget the backstabbers, because when it hits the fan, they're going to pretend like they were Team Trump the whole way. And that is absolutely true. And all you got to do is look at Marjorie Taylor Greene right now, and you can see every day that passes, it's really falling apart from her. This has nothing to do with Epstein. I do believe she wanted to run for the Senate. And Trump said, listen, when you look at the poll numbers, they're not good. Even if I endorse you, it's not going to put you where you want to be. So I cannot endorse you in doing this. Trump wasn't telling her not to run. He's just saying that, listen, I'm not going to endorse you. I think she got pissed off. I think she got angry. And look what happens when you get pissed off and angry. You say, you know what? Well, if I can't run for the Senate, then I'm going to make a lot of money. And that's exactly what she decided to do. She decided to become a rhino. And what's very interesting is that Bon Bad Hombre made a prediction. I made a prediction yesterday that she'll probably end up on a show. She'll probably quit Congress. But he said within 48 hours of Marjorie Taylor Greene will claim someone came to her house to threaten her or that she was swatted. She will absolutely pull a Jussie Smollett. Bookmark it. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene put this out and said, the hoax pizza deliveries have started now to my house and my family members. Update. We also received a pipe bomb threat on my construction company office building. President Trump's unwarranted and vicious attacks against me were a dog whistle to dangerous radicals that could lead to serious attacks on me and my family. He just said that he's not going to endorse you and you're a traitor to this country. Bad Hombre said, did I call it or did I call it? Absolutely. Karma Patriot says, well, and this coming from the independent Marjorie Taylor Greene, up 142% in stocks. She bought days before ICE awarded company massive contract. Laughable. So that's very interesting. She is making a lot of money via stocks. Her construction company is making a lot of money. And this is very, very interesting. So Truth Teller says the plot thickens. Apparently it's true that MTG's net worth in her only 4 years in politics ballooned from $700,000 to $22 million. I can't think of a way to explain this clearly. So either she's stock trading, which we could see she is, and I do believe she's probably getting some type of contracts for her construction company or something maybe. I don't know that actually allowed her to make $22 million because the salary that these Congress people are making doesn't allow this to happen. So Karma Pedri says, same. The more I dig, the more I find. Disappointing. And I think to a lot of people it's very disappointing. And what's very interesting is, look at the timeline in all of this. Pre-2021, before entering Congress, her net worth was approximately $700,000, primarily derived from her stake in the family-owned construction business Taylor Commercial Inc., which she acquired with her then-husband in 2002. 2023 estimates rose to about $11 million, reflecting growth in business interest and early investment gains. In early 2025, her wealth had doubled to around $22 million. October 2025, her net worth stands at approximately $25 million. So that is very, very interesting. So the growth equates to an average annual increase of over 6 million per year. Sound about right? With a salary of what? 174,000? I think there's something wrong. It sounds like a Nancy Pelosi thing to me. Trump, he put this out on Truth and says, "Wacky Marjorie Trader Brown. Remember, green turns to brown where there is rot involved, is working overtime to try and betray herself as a victim when in actuality she is the cause of all of her own problems." The fact is, nobody cares about this traitor to our country. And Trump is actually sending a warning to all the rhinos, and he's actually pointing them out. Why? Because once again, he is now stepping back and he wants people to see the board very, very clearly. Remember, the midterms are coming up, and the midterms are very, very important. I do believe they're one of the most important elections of our lifetime, not including the presidential election when we had Trump going up against Kamala Harris. But this will help Trump and we the people carry out the rest of the plan. Trumpy put this out and said, "I will be strongly endorsing against any state senator or House member from the great state of Indiana that votes against the Republican Party and our nation by not allowing the redistricting for congressional seats in the United States House of Representatives as every other state in our nation is doing. Republican or Democrat, Democrats are trying to steal our seats everywhere, and we're not going to let this happen." This all began with the rigged census. We must keep the majority at all costs. Republicans must fight back. Alex Brusowitz says, "As promised last week, the full force of the MAGA movement will be mobilizing in Indiana to unseat the rhinos who are betraying their constituents and undermining our nation by obstructing critical redistricting reforms. We've pinpointed every one of these obstructionists, and we're gearing up to recruit strong challengers without delay. Rhinos are no better than the radical left. They all must be replaced. And everyone that thinks that Trump is now dividing MAGA, that's not happening whatsoever. The MAGA base is strong. MAGA is watching all of this, and Trump is calling out the fake MAGA people and those people that are trying to divide MAGA. So no, MAGA is strong. And what you're going to see is just like we said yesterday from Glandon, he's removing the chaff. And that is exactly what is happening right now. And this is actually going to make MAGA even stronger. Actually, we saw this during Dantis. We saw very clearly all of those people, MAGA. Yes. Where were Trump? Oh, wait. DeSantis running. Hey, you know what? I'm with Dantis. You saw everyone drop and run over to Dantis. They're fake. They've always been fake. And then when DeSantis says, okay, I can't win, it's not going to happen, what did all the people do? They ran back to Trump. Think about it for a second. Trump, he put this out on Truth and said, in the entire United States of America, Republican or Democrat, only Indiana Republican State Senator Rod Bray, a complete and total rhino, is opposed to redistricting for purpose of gaining additional seats in Congress. The Democrats have proven to be dishonest and untrustworthy in anything have to do with elections or election integrity. Republicans must be tough and smart if we're going to win the midterms. The Rod Brays of politics are weak and pathetic. I wish he cared about saving our country as much as Democrats care about destroying it. Make America great again. And then he says, lines are forming to run against Rhino, Indiana Senator Rod Bray and those few other senators who support him and the upcoming primaries. every one of them will lose in record numbers. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And again, this is about taking back the country. Yes, other people have different agendas, but I do believe those people that have been with Trump from the very, very beginning, remember, he went through everything. They even tried to remove him by assassinating him. He went all through all this for we, the people. Remember, he always told us, I'm just in the way. They're really after you. If they remove me, they're coming after every single one of these people in this country. Every single person. Trump now is trying to take it all back. That's the mission. I think Kat says it the best. Trump is your president for the next 3 years and 2 months. He can't run for president again. Fake polls don't matter. Your skeptical feelings don't matter. Your constant whining about Trump's every move doesn't matter. Your protests don't matter. Your crying TikTok videos don't matter. Backstabbers Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene don't matter. Your fake MAGA is dead posts don't matter. Gaslighting, fake news doesn't matter. This country would be dead, gone, cooked, and over if drunk Kamala would have won this election. Trump saved the country. If you don't understand the simple fact, you're clueless. And right now, you'd be enjoying another 50 million illegal invaders over the next 4 years. And that would be all she wrote for the USA. And he's absolutely right. And Trump is doing exactly what we want him to do. Maybe not the way you want it, but he will reach his goal. And people are saying, well, why isn't Kash revealing all this? Why isn't he showing that the FBI was involved? Well, there could be certain things, and we mentioned a post yesterday, because I do believe that one's going to lead to another. And basically, in that same post, it said probably 60% of the information must be kept private. Plus, remember, we're going after the deep state players, and we're going to have accountability. And who's doing the investigations right now? The FBI and the DOJ. I don't know if this would taint the FBI and the investigations, because then, just like that post says, what happens if this opens a can of worms? Could we ever bring these people to hold them accountable if the FBI is shown to be a deep state system where they have basically been the criminal organization going back in time?